Good morning to the Honorable Prime Minister of the Council, Head of the Civil Registry, Mrs. Cathy Snyders, members of the media, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, Pelham's Tel TV Plus Channel 15, respective radio stations island-wide and online viewers. I'm Rolika Roach and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Silveira Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Rolika. Good morning to you. Good morning to the media here present. Good morning, of course, to Cathy Snyders, Head of the Civil Registry Department. Good morning to the staff of the Department of Communications and your support who are able to put on this press briefing this morning. And of course, a hearty good morning and a happy new year to one and all tuned in to this broadcast. I do apologize for the late start, but seeing I was the only minister present this morning, I felt it pertinent to inform the general public about some of the challenges that I've been hearing throughout the community as it relates to whether they have been registered or deregistered, the reason for that, and the allegations, the very erroneous allegations being levied towards my person, as well as the civil registry, that this is a deliberate act to influence the elections. Before I go into that, I will go according to my usual start. I can skip the good mornings. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone to this, our first press briefing for the year 2024. Reflecting on 2023, a year of challenges as well as victories, we also look forward to the infinite possibilities of this coming year. As we step into the promising embrace of 2024, I want to share a message of hope that is heartfelt. The road we have traveled has not been without challenges, but it is in facing these challenges head on, facing our trials, that we have discovered our strength. Everything we go through is there to forge a strength in us that we probably didn't know we had, and is giving us something to take into the future. Let us translate that strength into how we move forward towards our goals and the development that we all want for St. Martin starting this year. Here's to a year filled with collective strength, working together, unyielding hope, and the belief that together we can overcome any hurdle that comes our way. Our journey continues, and I am honored to walk it with all of you. This morning, I also am a bit late because I felt the need to pay my respects at the homegoing ceremony of another stalwart St. Martiner. And I've noted that there has been quite a number of persons that have passed over the holidays. So my heartfelt condolences go out to all of those who are suffering the loss of loved ones, especially those who were not able to see the dawn of 2024. We will remember the times we had with them, keep them in your hearts and in your spirit. They are always with us once we think on them with love and remembering the great memories they brought to our lives, the impact they had on our lives, and taking that into the future with us is a good legacy to keep their memory alive. And now to touch on the subject of the evening, of the morning, I must say. As election season picks up, some have not received, some of the persons that came in. We had over 3,000 people that came in to pick up their cards. Despite all of the discussion around that, it was a three-phased approach. Civil servants and then the public could pick up their cards, and then the delivery of voting cards took place as per usual via the post office. As of today, January 3rd, the Civil Registry will receive all of those cards back, and then we will be organizing that you can have them picked up, correct?
Good morning, everyone. We received them back on the 27th.
Oh, you got them back.
Yes, the post office delivered them back to us, and we arranged them back in order so that we can start today by delivering voting cards. So from today, between 4 and 6, persons can come to the Civil Registry Department to collect their voting cards if they didn't receive a card. If they lost the card, we are able to make a duplicate as well for them. It will be today, Wednesday, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, from 4 to 6, and Saturday between 9 and 12.
Thank you, Kathy. So I'd just like to repeat, as of today, January 3rd, from 4 to 6 p.m. for the rest of this week, you are able to, if you have not received your card, come to the Civil Registry Department right here at the Government Administration Building in Phillipsburg to pick up your card. If you've lost it, you can get a duplicate. And on Saturday, you also have a chance from 9 to 12. So I ask all to make use of this opportunity if you have not yet received your card and have not gotten it from your old landlord, because I know several cards were also delivered to landlords where people have moved. And in previous press briefings, I've asked persons, if you've received cards that do not belong to you, to please bring them back to the Civil Registry Department as well. So you still have the opportunity to do that during the day today so that those persons can be added as well to the 4 to 6 p.m. pickup time. Thank you for your patience in that regard. And now to address the situation of the statements being made about deliberate deregistrations. I asked Kathy to join me for this reason so that there wouldn't be a come back and I would have all the information at hand. This is something, the cleanup of our civil registry, I think since the time I came into government, I have been given updates on this and asking people to come in and update your address in the system. So some persons, yes, may have been erroneously deregistered, erroneously in the sense that the Civil Registry Department was not able to make contact with you. So it is not something that started at election or in preparation for election, but it's been ongoing. And I could remember certain media asking, what is now the count? And what is now the count? And we have been updating, I think, since June last year as to what the count was up till the date that the civil or the voting registry closed. However, that doesn't mean that persons cannot be re-registered and be eligible to vote. And so with that, I would then give the floor to Kathy for a few moments to maybe give further information or maybe just wait on the questions. You want to add anything to what I just said?
If I may, I can just give a short summary of our cleanup project. Our cleanup project started after 10-10-10. Our project started with a commissie Bandel back then that did a research in the system and found that there was a lot of mistakes or how can we say, persons registered that are not living here on the island. Also that we didn't have birth certificate, breeder's document from those persons in our system. So they requested and gave a summary of works that we had to do and to start a cleanup project from our system. It was a system that you cannot rely on all the information that was in the system, and that was one of the projects that we started after 10-10-10. We requested all the breeder's document that we felt that was needed in the system. We sent letters, we request birth certificates, death certificate. We had project with Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, Saba, and Statia. We went personally to, for instance, Aruba, get all the birth certificates from persons born in Aruba that never had the document updated in our system. We also had we started with persons that passed away. Up to now, I can say that we had more than 100 persons that passed away a long time ago, and they are still in our system as alive. So those are the details that you can say that our system was not up to par. That's a short recap of why we started the cleanup project.
Prime Minister Jacobs.
Thank you, Kathy. And I think for those who, very technical statement, breeder documents, those are birth certificates and other information that you have to certify who you are, correct?
Yes, so that can be birth, death, marriage, certificates that we request to update our system.
Yes, so with that, I will leave the floor for opening statements, and if necessary, looking at the document that Kathy has submitted to me, if I need to just make a closing statement, then I would do that. Thank you, Orlika.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. If you have just joined us, you are watching a special edition of the Live Council of Ministers press briefing. We now move on to the question and answer session. The floor is open, and Bibi Hatshaw of Vestaman News, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to colleagues, ministers, and Ms. Snyder. I'd like to ask a clarification question based on the statements made before I go into my questions, Prime Minister. Ms. Snyder, I have been to your office at least with 3 different families, permanent residents. They are not even Dutch. They were deregistered. They were asked for a host of documents to get re-registered and given a runaround. These people are still alive. They didn't change address. Their phone numbers are the same. Their email address is the same. What method did you use to contact these people to make sure that you're not deregistering the wrong people, the wrong sets of people? And in the same breath, can you tell us exactly how many persons contested the deregistration via the courts? Because there wasn't a publication to say at the court that, people can come to court to make sure that they're registered if they believe they were wrongfully deregistered. Prime Minister, my question.
Wait, let's let Kathy answer, and then we'll go to your question.
Thank
Kathy?
you.
Thank you for the question. I can inform you that all persons that were deregistered out of our system did receive at least 2 letters from our department. However, the primary reason that persons got deregistered, and that's the answer that we get from them, is because they never received the letters. Now, most of the time, the persons are not on the same address any longer. So the question is, why are persons not receiving the letters that we sent out? It's like you said, and thank you for that, because it don't have nothing to do with Dutch nationals, and that's the reason why we're sitting here. Persons thinking that we are deregistering Dutch nationals. We are not sending letters to Dutch nationals. We are sending letters to everyone. We did queries in our system. How did our query came about? We have queries about persons that no longer have a valid residence permit in our system. We send them a letter. Maybe the person do have a valid residence permit, but they never came to update that at our department. So if in our system it seems like the person didn't update their residence permit and they have no activity for the last 5 years at least, we send them a letter. So the queries was based on certain criteria. No valid residence permit in our system and no activity. The other query that we did is queries about persons with Dutch nationalities that haven't updated their passport for the last between 10 and 5 years. We did a query of all the persons that didn't renew the passport. And we sent a letter stating that you haven't updated your passport. We want to know your whereabouts. We have also queries about persons that just in regular don't have no activity at all. From 1997, we went to a digital system whereby we have persons that since 1997, all activity is on 0. So we want to know where all those persons are. We have statistic department did a house-to-house project or census, and we have a huge difference between statistic and civil registry. Civil registry is a system that you register based on laws and regulations. And also, it gives us the authority obligation, and as Prime Minister, she is the head of the basic administration, to guarantee that the information in our system is accurate. And that's why we ask the persons their whereabouts. Now, if after the second letter, 4 weeks after, no response, yes, we deregister them. And maybe it's a fault that by some means they never received the first nor the second letter, and that we did deregister them out of the system.
Thank you for the clarification. Prime Minister, I'm asking you this as chair of the Council of Ministers. Can you give me an update or information, if you know, what is the reason or why is the marketplace project delayed? There is information out there that this is being held up by coalition partners. A complaint was filed by the ombudsman, by the vendors. The vendors have been waiting for years for this project. Their products are being stolen. They are selling and working in very much deplorable conditions out there at the marketplace. We are told that it was sent to the Council of Ministers. It's being held up. Can you clarify for me what exactly is the situation with the marketplace project?
Bibi, I'm going to be very, very honest and open in this answer because I'm really tired of people playing political games with things that are real challenges. Now, if anyone knows how the Council of Ministers function, you have to bring an advice that has been properly prepared for decision making. There's something called beslissrijpheidstoets, means it has to be tested for its accuracy so that we as a government don't hear afterwards you take a decision without it being properly done. So the file that came finally, not when it was politically being bandied about, but when it finally arrived, was not ready for decision making. And it went back to get the corroborating information and validation of the decision to reach to a council decision. The council cannot make a decision on something as much as we want to because we think it's a good idea to get the marketplace up and running. We feel the pain of the marketplace vendors, but it has to be done correctly. I think you've heard our Minister of Justice say, if we go about doing things quick and fast, you more than likely will make several errors. And while we want to get it done, it's been something on the books for a while and had funding via, I think, the cruise lines. You still have to be able to justify how you get to the point where we are now when government funds are involved. So until it comes back properly elucidated, it cannot get a positive decision as much as we all want it done. And to further clarify also with something that you asked the Civil Registry Department, if someone is found to be erroneously deregistered, they have the opportunity on the spot to re-register. So there is no limitation. Once you can prove you are, that's who you are and that's, you have your ID, etc., that's your address, you re-register. And so persons have been told weekly here in this press briefing to have you been erroneously deregistered because you didn't get the mail or whatever the case may be, just come in and re-register. So please, I hope that clarifies that.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Bibi. Judy Fitzpatrick of the Daily Herald, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, and all the best for 2024 to everyone. I do also have a clarification for Ms. Snyders, and then I will ask my question. Ms. Snyders, you indicated that this process began as of 10/10/10. Can you give us an indication as to how many persons in total have been removed from the register due to one of the circumstances that you mentioned earlier? And how many have been removed within the past year, so last year? And do you also have an indication as to how many of these persons who have been removed were removed from the voters registry? Because there are, like the Prime Minister mentioned, quite a lot of complaints about this. And my colleague asked the question.
We will allow Kathy to answer those three parts. Kathy, go ahead.
May I?
We'll let Kathy answer because it's a bit much. Kathy, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Our project, we started with the part of the deregistration of persons on September 1st, 2021. We started sending the first set of letters, and after 6 weeks, we sent the second batch of the second letters to the same persons. And total, up to now, we deregistered 3,900 and change persons from the system. That's based on the project. Of course, Again, it's not all Dutch nationals. It's all in one civil registry persons that are really and truly not living here. What do we call living here? For us, and one part of what I always discuss with the Prime Minister is regarding the students that are abroad, that we don't have a list of who is a student abroad. I'm very sorry that we cannot get a list from no department stating who are students. So we try to figure out that from the age of 18 to 25, maybe you are a student, and we will not send you a letter. Personally, I have children that is studying abroad, and I know the age bracket more or less. So I tried not to send a letter. If you're younger than 25, you might have a letter, because we have seen activities prior to 18 already that you are not active in our system. No ID card, no passport, whatever activity is not there, we maybe still send the letters. So we have deregistered persons between 2001 and up to now. We are still on an ongoing, 2021, up to now, we are still with our project. We never stopped. We didn't stop when we closed the registry for voting. It's not part of the voting system. It's a part of civil registry. Voting registry is an abstract, a part of our registry. So not because there's an election coming now, we will stop our project. The project is an ongoing project. And also, I can mention that all the persons that were deregistered, again, who is living here is person that at least 8 months in a year are sleeping on the address on St. Martin we consider as living here. There's a difference how people interpret living on St. Martin. It's not because you have your own house on St. Martin you're living. If you have your own house and you're renting it, or you're leaving cousin, nieces, nephews sleeping in there, and yourself is abroad, you're not living here. And a lot of persons, when they come to address that part with me, oh, I have my house here, I have everything, I'm a St. Martiner, but that doesn't make the difference between living and sleeping and living somewhere else. So that's a criteria that the law, and that's in the memorie van toelichting of the law, that explained what the law put behind the residence part of the law. So with that said, the persons that were deregistered and still believe they are living on St. Martin, they have up to the 5th, this coming Friday, to petition the court. We don't have a list as yet from the court. We had about 8 letters from the court. So we divided with the court 2 systems, whereby one is persons that we think, if the department noticed that this person was erroneously written out, we will not give that to the person to address. We address it ourselves towards the court, and the court agree with us that everything we request from our side will be submitted and most probably also approved. Now, persons that we believe that we did not erroneously deregister them out of the system, they can also petition the court. And those, we had about 8 requests from the court to address. We have to, of course, send our findings to the court stating why they were deregistered. And we wrote to the court all 8 letters already. And of course, there are some more coming in now. We have also persons that approaching the court because they just naturalized as Dutch, and they were allowed to request the court to add them to the voting registry, for instance. So all the requests from the court are not based on persons that was deregistered, but also persons that just became Dutch.
Thank you, Kati. Continue, Judy.
Thank you so much. Prime Minister, in previous elections, I know there's usually, or there used to be, a ban on the sale of alcohol, I believe for some the day prior to as well as the day of election. Can we expect that to be implemented again this year?
Yes, so all regulations that are usually taken care of have been assessed, and whatever needs to be done to ensure fair, safe elections will be done in a timely fashion, and those announcements will come in time. Yep.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Thank you, Judy. I would now like to invite Mr. Emily from Island 92 Radio. You have the floor.
Good morning. Happy New Year. I also have some clarification questions. So just to be clear, number one, if you don't have your voting card on January 11th, there's no mechanism to show up to your assigned voting spot and vote, or is there? That's one question. Do you want to? Okay.
Let me just address that right away. This is a every election question. Persons who do not have their card on that day can come to Civil Registry to get duplicates made on the day itself. Of course, not 7 o'clock in the night. So anybody who don't have a voting card, I would really encourage you on election day, if still you do not have one, you have not made use of your opportunity today from 4 to 6, Thursday, Friday, and on Saturday, then you can come on election day as well. So not next week.
Okay, because we're approaching the election day itself, so from Monday, we need some extra time to set up the booths. I must say, our own department is the one that does that part. So we are on the road with a lot of staff members. So we limit the amount of persons that we are asking to come to the department to do other business. So we have our appointment system. Persons can come, but we try not to do it next week because we don't have the manpower. From Monday evening, we are on the road fixing, putting booths and polling stations ready for the elections. So that's why we cater them until Saturday. Of course, the day of election itself, you can come. We discuss this with the polling station members that till 6 o'clock, they can come to the Civil Registry to get a duplicate. After 6, the polling station members are allowed to make a duplicate themselves. We ask the general public or voting persons not to go to the polling station without the voting card because it's a tedious process that they have to write and there's persons in line waiting to cast their vote. So till 6 o'clock, they can come to the Civil Registry Department to get a duplicate card or pick up the card that they never received.
Okay. So, and two more questions. So once a person is deregistered from the registry, they're automatically deregistered from the voting possibility as well. Is that correct?
That depends on when they were deregistered, because the voting registry, as Kathy explained, Civil Registry is a complete registry of all the residents of St. Martin. And I've heard a lot of people debating, oh, why isn't it just a separate registry? It's a goal that we have, but we need to do legislative changes to make that happen, which were not possible in the short term. So they extrapolate the voting population from the complete registry. And that is done by the particular day, it was October 23rd of 2023. So if perchance you got deregistered after that, you may still already have your voting card.
Okay. And then you mentioned that your criteria for being in the registry is that you should sleep in your residence 8 months, which means that students that are going abroad should
Students are not. So she also explained that students are not on the list to be deregistered based on the fact that they're students. However, they don't have a list of students, so some may have been deregistered by accident.
Understood. Thank you.
I would also like to address this. Culturally, what Kathy said is the technical, what is residing on St. Martin, and we all know culturally what happens, but that is part of the cleanup that needed to happen. And I think to ensure, because the right to vote is something people hold very, very dear, and not because you're out of your country. Other people out of their country can vote, but because we don't have that set up here, persons have to actually be on our registry, and that becomes a challenge. So we've been maintaining it culturally, but legally it's a challenge. And so if you're going through a project to over 10 years be fixing this, it's difficult to say you're gonna stop because now we have an election. So it is not deliberate, it is part of the project, and we hope that within short, we can create a separate voters registry so that anyone abroad who is a St. Martiner, who is a Dutch with connections to St. Martin, just like Netherlands, persons who live here can vote in the Netherlands, to make it possible that they can vote once abroad. But it's a goal and not a reality at this time.
I feel your tension, so thank you. So my question is related to this decision that I saw about in the middle of the year moving from the Netherlands Antilles Guilder to the Caribbean Guilder. And I commend you, Prime Minister, for being here each week to be accountable even for ministers that are not here. So I understand it might not be exactly in your purview, but I think it's a really important discussion. So number one, the role of central bank is to monitor and manage the currency, but also they have this supervision role, which we've seen with the Enya saga wasn't really executed in the best way, and there's still an ongoing issue there. So I think that there's a question mark about the role and proper functioning of central bank. So the decision now to move to a Caribbean Guilder, number one, how is that decision made? What's St. Martin's, the government position? How are they involved? What's the cost of the new currency? So if I understand, they're physically taking away the Netherlands Antilles Guilder and replacing it with new bills and coins. So there's a physical cost for that. Did you look at dollarization? So number one, are you looking at the function overall of central bank and then dollarization as an alternative to moving to a Caribbean Guilder? Thank you.
Multiple questions, and definitely on a topic that I do not have the latest update on, Mr. Lee. So definitely the central bank's role in this, as well as the government's role, is clear. We have been having this discussion, I believe, since achieving the status as Curaçao and St. Martin. The Netherlands Antilles ceased to exist, so having a currency tied to a non-existent country is the challenge. And I therefore believe that was the main reason why they had to move towards whether it's the dollar or the Caribbean Guilder. And that entire process has taken this long. So I don't want to, go off the top of my head on something that I haven't recently delved into. And so I will ensure that you be updated, or the general public, from our Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank in a more clear manner as to the process to get here, as well as to how it will be done, the costs related to it, etc.
So just for clarity.
Wait, can we, and Mr. Lee?
Thank you. So just a clarification, but does the government of St. Martin, does the Council of Ministers support and agree, and did you participate in this decision to, as of the middle of this year, move to a Caribbean Guilder?
This has not been a recent discussion, so I cannot definitively say what the process was, but definitely the Minister of Finance would be able to give you a better answer. And if it is directly in his purview, did it have to come to the Council of Ministers? Did it come to the Council of Ministers 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or 5 or 6 years ago, and that approval was already on the books, and so this is just a natural runover? I cannot say, but I do not expect that the central bank would make an announcement if they hadn't followed and walked the proper procedures. So we will find out exactly what that is, but I am pretty much under the assumption that most of it took part before we came in here.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Mr. Lee. Members of the media, as we have used up our time slot, that was the last round. Any further questions can be sent to the Minister's Cabinet in writing. Honorable Prime Minister, Mrs. Snyders, members of the media, Your radio listeners, online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024. For rebroadcast, tune into stmartingov.org, SXM Gov Radio 107.9 FM, Telemcell TV Plus Channel 15, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, and YouTube channel Government of St. Martin. For video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Roach and wishing you a pleasant day and a happy new year.